So if my voice sounds even more annoying than usual this week, it's because I have caught whatever the heck it is that everybody seems to be catching. And now this is, I think, my third time in a row trying to record this without coughing. So I'm going to talk fast and try and get this done. I teach a lot of times, depending on the semester, either and or both sociology of families and sociology of gender. And I'm lucky enough then that some students will take both classes with me. Some this semester, right, that you're taking it, and I'm really sorry about that because that's a lot of me. But in both classes, I discuss the second shift, and because I feel like it's the intersection between families and gender. And so the second shift is about all of the care work that is done in a family. And so I'm going to share some older research with you in a minute, but I wanted to take a look at some kind of modern day research. There's something called, I think it's called like the American Time Use Survey. And so these are charts from 2003 that divide up like how much time do Americans spend on various things. So you can see on the left hand side, working and work related activities, personal care, including sleep, leisure and sports. Those are some of the ones I'm picking out that kind of show some differences between women and men. Looking over on the right hand side, wow, there's a real significant difference between the average hours for women and average hours for men in all household activities. But then also like look at food preparation or even look at like something like lawn and garden care. In gender, when I teach on campus, I will have students try to figure out um, how much each one of these tasks is worth if you paid somebody to do it for you for the month. And I do this on a worksheet that I've designed that has like all these blocks on it. And so once they design, like they write out a block for each task, I have them cut them apart and put them into piles. Like which tasks are considered stereotypically feminine, which ones are considered stereotypically masculine. And sometimes the piles are actually fairly even. And so I have students go back through and I'm like, wait a second, how often are these tasks being done? And like the pile that is stereotypically feminine, once a day, twice a day, that type of stuff. The tasks that are stereotypically masculine, once a week, once a month, something along those lines. So looking at something like food preparation and cleanup, yeah, you're prepping and cleaning up for food and eating two, three times a day, but you're cutting your grass once a week, maybe twice a month-ish, depending on, right? On the left-hand side now is care. I didn't mark ages, like I didn't do teenagers, because I figured that was then a lot of different things to look at. I probably should have. But you can see the time that is divided up between mothers and fathers on various aspects of care work. And then I think the right's really interesting. Leisure, how leisure is divided up, right? Um, I really like the section down there of relaxing and thinking because we do so much of that nowadays. I look at that in relation to watching TV. And I guess, you know what? I'm double checking. Like, where's is like watching or social media under watching TV because that's media, or is it under socializing and communicating, or is it under computer use? Because there's no way, right? But anyways, that gives you a chance to kind of look through and see where the division of gendered activities are. So this term, the second shift, this is some older research in sociology. So Arlie Hochschild, a sociologist, did this research from 1976 to 1988. And so you have to think about those times because there's some limitations nowadays that like this would need to be done again to be more representative of our current families. Um, Marriage equality did not exist, right? And so she was only examining male-female relationships, heteronormative relationships. Um, Also, the late 60s, 70s, they were kind of thought of, oh, this time where women were working outside the home for the first time. Well, no, but white middle class women. And so those are a couple of the limitations in early Hochschild's ethnographic research. But the term second shift came from one of the interviews that she did. One of the interviewees was like, it's like I go to work and I work a whole shift and then I come home and I have a whole other shift. And what Hochschild found at the time was that women were working 15 hours longer than men each week. And so that means actually, if you add it up, it's very similar 15 times 52 to 30 times 24. So it means over a year, it's actually one full month of 24-hour days. So look at your clock right now. Think about if you started working right this minute and you worked and you worked and you worked around the clock. We see that in the little video clip, right? That idea of relentless just go, 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 go. You can only rest when your client rests. That job interview video clip that I'm having you take a look at this week. So this idea of division of labor in relation to all these tasks exist, right? Like care work exists, but who ends up doing it is what really we are looking at this week. And is it a fair division of labor? Remember that fairness is one of our general standards of critical thinking. So we're going to study the wage gap soon in this class. Teaser, I guess, or brain, what is it? Spoiler alert. Couldn't even come up with the word. Um, that week's not going to make you feel real great. Like that is not the happiest week. So we're going to take a look at the wage gap, like I said. But then there's also, as you saw in that chart, a leisure gap. If you're doing all of this work, you don't have as much time to, as you saw in the chart, relax and think. So um, this work is actually, if we don't get paid for it, so we don't conceptualize it as being worth anything. We live in a capitalistic society that the only way that something's worth something is because we get paid for it. Um, but it is. And so salary.com over the years, they stopped in 2019. They did it in 2020, but they did it a little bit differently and they haven't really done it the same way since. But you can see they have tried, and you can look at, if you kind of stop for a second and look at the list, they tried to come up with all of the various tasks that are being done. Some of them are a little bit unusual, like you're an IT person. Well, yeah, if your kid's Chromebook for school goes down, you're going to try to fix it. You're a psychologist, you're um, doing all these different things. They tried to think through and do the math on how much this work is worth. And you can see over on the chart on the right, um, that last year that they really conceptualized this in 2019, $178,000. And so I would imagine if they were still doing it in the same way, it would very well could be, I would think, up close to $200,000 at this point, right? If you got paid to do all the work that's being done, $200,000. It's a lot of work, and we don't value it, right? We don't, and we make an inordinate amount of stereotypical assumptions about it. I am very, very lucky that I have a partner. My husband has been taught as he was growing up, along with his brother, by his parents, that you contribute to this house. We all do dishes, we all do laundry, we all clean up, we do this together. And that's how he views household tasks. That's not necessarily the case for everybody. That's not how everybody is socialized. Cultural norms and things like that can overlap with this. But it's interesting because Sean does contribute a great deal around this house. I oftentimes hear how lucky I am. And I am. Please don't think I'm sitting here going, no, that's the way it should be. No, 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 I am. But can you imagine if he were hanging out with his friends? He was at lunch at school one day talking to his teacher friends, and they were talking about all the stuff that needs to be done around the house. And they heard that Nora does all the laundry. She irons too. Like, would he ever hear, oh my gosh, Sean, you're so lucky? No, he wouldn't. There's still a lot of assumptions and a lot of stereotypes that surround the various care work that's being done. And people who identify as masculine, who are capable and willing in the care work, you know, world that we live in, they're considered amazing. And then the assumption is that anybody who is feminine is responsible for it still, even though that's not necessarily the case. We have egalitarian relationships. Work is divided up. We're so busy nowadays, right? That the work needs to be divided up, but kind of taking a look. And so I want you to really, really be reflective this particular week. What did you see growing up? How do you think work should be divided? A side effect of this week is unintended, but sometimes I will hear from students like, I'm not having kids. Well, that was not the intention of this. You get to decide whatever it is you want to do, however you want to do it, and more power to you. But thinking through, the work's not going away. The dishes are going to need to be done. The dog needs to be walked. The kids need help with homework. Who's going to do it?